So hunting is conservation, right? We say it all the time. But do we actually show it? Do we actually show what hunting is conservation actually means? So this week in New Zealand, and I'm repping the In the Name of the Tar shirt, is Hunting is Conservation Week. And what the New Zealand hunting community has decided to do is showcase what hunting is conservation actually means. And so this is our way to broadcast to our small community that conservation effort. And before someone jumps all over me, they're like, well, hunting isn't truly conservation. In my mind, when I define conservation, I define it as the sustainable, wise use of a resource so that it is around for my kids and my grandkids one day. So hunting and the activities that hunters do on the landscape, to me, and the way that I define conservation, is conservation. So I want to highlight 4 or 5 efforts that are happening in New Zealand right now. The first one is the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation. Actually, I think it's called Wapiti, but in New Zealand they call it Wapiti. So New Zealand has elk. Elk was gifted to them by TDR back in the day. And the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation does a phenomenal job of preserving, conserving, sustainably perpetuating that Wapiti population. This foundation is the gold star for conservation efforts in New Zealand. It's the benchmark. Volunteer efforts to reduce genetic hybridization between red deer and Wapiti, the upgrading and maintenance of huts, the running of trap lines, all done on the backs of volunteers that want that resource around for their kids and their grandkids one day. So the Wapiti Foundation works very closely with an NGO called the Kia Conservation Trust. Kia is the world's only alpine parrot. And hunters are providing data, valuable monitoring information on that parrot to a non-hunting organization. Another great effort is the Sika Foundation. They are too managing huts, maintaining huts. Those huts are Department of Conservation huts, and they're taking it upon themselves to look after it for hunters and non-hunters alike. Similarly, they run trap lines. They install and service good native New Zealand A24 traps, about 500 of them. Again, all volunteer-based. The Sika Foundation, similar to the Wapiti Foundation, undertakes controlled culling efforts themselves. They take it upon themselves, they take it upon their backs to go in and cull the herd because they know it's good for native vegetation. They know it's good for the genetics of the herd. They know it's just good overall conservation work to go in and manage that population. Lastly, the Tararua Foundation. The Tararua Foundation is brand new kids on the block wanting to do the same thing in a catchment in the Tararuas. They want to put trap lines out. They want to put 1,000 traps out and maintain and monitor those traps over the next 3 years. The Tararua Foundation wants to bring kiwis back. And to be able to do that, they have to show the Department of Conservation the work they're doing. They have to show from monitoring and putting the camera surveys out and the camera traps that predator populations are close to zero. Why? Because hunting is conservation. Hunters want the best for the landscape. So I'll end with this. This Hunting is Conservation Week in New Zealand is incredible. Hats off to you guys. And check out the logo on this film, and you can add it to your pictures and showcase your support for them. But I'll challenge us as a hunting community. Every week is Hunting is Conservation Week. We just have to show it. We just have to show our truth. We just have to show the proof of what we are doing day in and day out. Because we do it day in and day out, but we think it's mundane. It's just the run-of-the-mill kind of things that we do. But actually, it's gold content to show the non-hunter the work that is going on. So Blood Origins, we've done our part. We want to contribute to Hunting is Conservation Week in New Zealand. So we got on board with Altitude and Trails and we sold these shirts, the In the Name of the Tar shirts. I'm happy to say that we're going to put $600 into the New Zealand Tar Foundation. In addition, we collaborated with Madison Coulter, the artist, and she sold a tar print. And we said we would match it. That's an additional $850 to the New Zealand Tar Foundation. So all in all, we're going to drop $1,400 into the New Zealand Tar Foundation. Thanks to you guys. So do your part. Show the truth about hunting. Show the proof of you doing that work in the field. Just appreciate you and humbled by just who you are.